Good evening and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token Podcast. Euan introduction, first one in a while.
You've got much more of your radio voice than I have. That was like you were trying so hard there.
Something clicked there, and I was like, "Oh right,
I've just done an experiment. I just let you do that to see how you. I wanted to see if you did the same thing that I did, which is just like have that. I have that. I don't know what would you call that. I mean, your patter. Your
party piece.
It's just become your thing now that you do your like. I always do my hello, but you do a good evening.
Yeah,
I straight into radio DJ.
I unnecessarily timestamp a podcast. It could be any time. Could be listening to this first thing in the morning. I've just thrown you off.
So yes, this is the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token Podcast, and we are doing a video games episode 43, odd-numbered episodes. Video games. My name is Chris.
I'm Euan.
We are without Pawel this week, who has... I mean, I don't think this is a coincidence, right? Now, Pawel says that he got an emergency summons to London. Now, this is just hours after... Hang on, let me just check my news sheet. This is hours after the Brexit bill has been given royal assent.
Oh,
so, right. And then he suddenly gets an emergency call to go down to London. I mean, I think I don't know if we're going to see him again.
Maybe there's a lot of people in a similar situation right now. Like anybody who's recording a podcast right now who has a friend from greater sort of European Union, that probably explains why they're not here right now.
That's true.
Why they're currently being prodded onto a bus down to... I don't know, Watford Gap or something.
Oh no.
I don't think they'll let them all the way into London. There'll probably be a staging area just outside on like the M25.
This is getting really sinister.
Well, you have to think about the logistics of these things.
There's got to be a video game in this somewhere.
Oh yeah.
There's got to be.
A dystopian video game where you play as Pawel.
Oh no, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could play a game as Pawel. Especially if he's some sort of hero. He could only be a villain.
Oh yeah, well, maybe an anti-hero or something like that.
All right.
Yeah. A female anti-hero.
Called Pawel.
Who
looks like Pawel.
With basically Pawel, with the Pawel texture.
Yeah. Oh no, why did we not call the podcast the Pawel texture? That's a much better name.
That'll be the comeback podcast.
Right, this is probably going to be a shorter episode, mainly because one, Pawel isn't here to gush about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Aye.
I'll talk briefly about it, but we'll probably leave that for our next video games episode where Pawel can properly make love to this game. I've got some different things to say about it. Ooh. But mainly because I like being contrary when Pawel's involved.
Well, this is, as I said before, this is a quick drive-by before the actual discussion.
A drive-by shooting of Horizon Zero Dawn so that Pawel can get really fired up for the next episode. Good. But yeah, this is probably going to be a bit of a shorter episode. Got a few things to talk about, but I don't think we have too much to talk about quite a lot of these things. So we'll start with Horizon Zero Dawn, because I have been playing it a lot more.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near as much as Pawel, I will say that. But I have got past that whole sort of starting area, out into the greater wilderness, and out doing all the Horizon Zero Dawn things.
Right.
Now, what I will say about this game is, yes, it's very good looking. Okay, the graphics, the scenery, everything in this, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I think Aloy is a really pretty cool sort of main character.
I just think from what I've seen of her so far, I haven't been able to get a handle on...
Not really got a feel for her, but she's very likeable.
Right.
She's a very... I don't know what you would say. She doesn't show too much emotion, Aloy, but she's obviously quite a friendly sort of person, and she's doing her best. She's doing things for good reasons.
Okay. Interesting.
Now, what I'm going to say about Horizon Zero Dawn is that for some reason I've not been drawn into playing the game as much as I thought I would. I started playing like The Witcher earlier this year, or was it towards the end of last year?
Yeah.
And for some reason, I still just playing Horizon Zero Dawn makes me want to play The Witcher instead. You get a kind of similar feel out of it. I think The Witcher's are much more in depth, much more epic compared to Horizon Zero Dawn. But for some reason, it's like when I play Horizon Zero Dawn, I feel like, why am I not just playing The Witcher instead? Now, obviously, The Witcher is something that I'm just kind of dabbling in, so every so often I'll every sort of 2 or 3 weeks I'll turn it on for a few hours, and then that'll be me, and I'm quite happy with it. I thought Horizon Zero Dawn was going to hold my interest a bit much more. I feel like it's riding a bit of a hype wave, I said to you. I feel like people are really like, oh, this is the best game ever sort of thing, but I'm not getting that out of it. I'm really not.
Right.
It's a good, no, don't get me wrong, right? It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's probably a great game, but in the hype that everybody's given it, saying that it's like one of the best games of all time already, I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. It's got an interesting setting. I like that. I like this what we called tribal punk in the last episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like that with all the machines going about the place, and there's obviously some history to uncover, and I'm starting to uncover some of that history, finding various sort of documents and stuff like that are lying up, litter about the place that are left over. They're electronic documents. It's Pawel's physical PDFs.
Oh, he loves the physical PDFs lying about.
The stuff like that just kind of lying about that gives you a bit of a feel for what's been going on in this world. Pawel tells me it becomes much more apparent as the game goes on.
Oh, right, because I got the just impression from the way that it was set up that the lore of the game was kind of like, okay, humanity has basically been, there essentially was some kind of apocalyptic event, and this is the re-emergence of human civilization. I kind of got the feeling that they weren't going to reference too far back in that case, in terms of there'd be almost a kind of a gap in the history to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's masses of stuff to find in terms of the history, or so far I haven't found it, even if there is, and I don't think there will be. I think that would probably ruin things a bit.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe that's why I'm not getting it so much. Maybe because I've not been uncovering as much of this stuff. I mean, because I've just been kind of going out. I feel like, there's something weird with Horizon Zero Dawn. I feel like you level up so quickly in it. Incredibly quickly. I mean, I don't feel like I've been playing the game that much and I'm already level 20 or something like that. I don't know how high it goes, but I feel like I've already unlocked most of the skills.
It's, again, with these kind of games, the third person stuff, but I hesitate to even really call them RPGs because, well, you're playing the role of that one person, but they're fairly linear.
Yeah.
And is the leveling system that sort of
it's
important,
not complicated,
really?
It's not. I think it's important because a lot of these skills really do give you a proper edge against some of these machines that you're fighting against.
But it's a case of rather than increasing stats, you're getting more specified skills for dealing with things rather than you're getting.
There's no stats in it at all. It's all just skill based.
Right.
So you're unlocking things like you can take people out from below or above. And all sorts of other things, like you can pick up extra resources when you're picking things up, and there's a whole bunch of things there. There's not a lot of them, but they're really specific. But I feel like because I've already unlocked a massive chunk of them.
All right.
I've already got them, and I'm wondering if because it feels like there's something missing almost. I feel and I don't know if this is the hype thing. I don't know if it feels like I was expecting so much more out of this, like something on the level of The Witcher. Maybe that's what it is. But let's be honest. I'm just giving a contrary review of this, because it's going to really rile Pawel up.
And I think a lot of games. Well, I think a lot of games wouldn't really compare favourably against The Witcher, just because of the sheer just balls out just massiveness of I get the fear when I consider playing The Witcher. I'm just I've sat down with other people, played bits of it, and been quite content. The idea of starting a game and playing through on that it puts the fear in me. It's so. Oh, you're massive.
Right. I mean, that's part of because I owned The Witcher for about a year before I started playing. Right,
I can see you getting the same thing.
And I was because I was just like, this game. If you start one of these types of games, it's just such an undertaking, and at first it's confusing. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what skills are good. You don't know and it can be really. You really do have to sit down and put a lot of time into it before you're sort of comfortable with it. But now I'm comfortable with The Witcher, and I'm kind of know what I'm doing, and I feel like that there's a lot of stuff out there to explore, but it's not that intimidating anymore. I just feel like I can just do it whenever I want. And I think the attitude I'm taking towards it, the sort of dabbling attitude I'm taking towards it, has kind of helped, because if I was to sit and try and play the game like a lot of people I know did, which is just to sit and play it solidly for weeks on end, I would probably have a nervous breakdown.
I think so. Yeah, there's just it seems like there's just too much going on. I mean, I've been playing Final Fantasy 15, I've had a similar thing with that, and I'm wondering whether maybe the reason that you're with Horizon Zero Dawn is that you're sort of hit that point where, because you've come out of the slightly more linear bit and you've gone into the open world, sometimes that can have an effect. When you hit that point and you're like, okay, I think I've got the game now, do I start getting into this now, or just put it down for a bit and come back to it? And I had a similar problem with Final Fantasy 15, where I was like, right, this is now it, and I've cut to this point, I kind of just want to put it down for a second, but I feel if I do, I'm just going to lose that interest.
I think that's probably what it is. I think I've hit a certain point, and I have gone out and explored a decent chunk. I mean, the map's it looks a lot smaller than I expected, unless it's somehow like there is a lot more to that map than I'm thinking. Because if there is, then I've not scratched the surface of this game, and you can probably negate everything that I just said. But
well, that was the impression that I got from sort of just a brief look at the map. I was like, that seems quite small for this kind of game. But then they've tended. What I find is they've been moving, and again, Final Fantasy 15 has what would appear to be a small map for a world, game, but like the entire of it is explorable. When you consider like the sheer size of that, you're never going to be completely stuck for somewhere to go, But
well, just to give an idea, anybody that's listening to this at the sort of point that I'm at in Horizon, I've obviously got the thing that lets you tame some of the robots, and I've done the first sort of underground kind of area where you find the kind of factories and stuff like that, which actually upgrades your. If I remember correctly, that was where we upgraded the taming ability so that you can tame other robots. So that's the kind of point I'm at. I've done a few things after that as well, but basically that whole left side of the map I haven't even got into yet. So maybe there is a lot more to this game that I'm just not seeing yet, and I think you're right, I think I should probably just stop ignoring it and then just sit and
give it a good solid go.
Give it a C into.
Aye. Get it pumped.
But I'm gonna. But like I say, let's leave this for Pawel to gush about in a couple of weeks' time.
I might even have a go at it before then.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Have something to say.
It's worth playing. I would say it's definitely worth playing.
Nah.
Because I don't want to sound like I'm being negative about the game at all, because I have been enjoying it. It's just that it's just not been holding my interest as much as I thought it would. I think is the problem.
And you feel the need to quell sort of overhyping of
you do sometimes have to pour water on the fire a bit. And just say, look, come on lads. Right, so that was Horizon Zero Dawn, which is by, who's that by again? Oh, Guerrilla Games, that was who it was. Now, moving on, so let's be honest, part of the reason why I haven't been playing Horizon Zero Dawn is because I have been playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is an almost laughable prospect. Because Horizon Zero Dawn seems like much more my type of game compared to Ghost Recon Wildlands. But part of the reason for this is that the few times over the past couple of weeks that I've managed to actually sit down and turn my PlayStation on, a couple of my mates have been sitting playing Ghost Recon. And I just get involved because they're sitting there and playing in a party, playing in a group, and that's what this game's designed for. And I like that kind of thing. I love multiplayer games. I do really enjoy multiplayer games, and so I've just been joining in. Now, I don't. Again, I've not got too much else to say about it that on top of what I said a couple of weeks ago, other than the fact that, like, obviously this is an open world. Tactical shooter type thing where you're playing as part of a squad, and it's set in Bolivia. And like I said, we said a couple of weeks ago when me and Pawel were talking about this, that the portrayal of Bolivia in this game is fucking ridiculous. Now, and again, like I say, I know Bolivia is, it has some problems. But it's one of these South American countries that does have problems with drugs and stuff like that. But the way that they've portrayed this as being a country which is completely only reliant on the drug industry, and that the military are involved in it and all of this, like heavily involved. The government totally support it, and like Colombian and Mexican drug cartels are running the place.
And there's just armed compounds everywhere.
Yes,
like
armed compounds everywhere.
Meters.
They're all making cocaine.
Aye.
It's like, or storing cocaine or something like that. Even like the radio stations, it's got that that Grand Theft Auto style thing where like you get in a car and there's a radio station playing. Every radio station is just openly talking about the cocaine factories and how great it is, but you get missions in this to go and actually like investigate the DJs and stuff. It's fucking stupid.
So it's gone a bit Just Cause with that, the weirdness.
Yeah, so me and Pavel like talked about how like the Bolivian government should probably complain about this, and they did. And they complained to the French embassy because it's Ubisoft Paris that make this.
Okay.
So they complained to the French embassy. I don't know where it's gone from there, but quite rightly, they've complained about this game.
But the French are have a long history of their intelligence agencies getting involved in clandestine drug operations, particularly in like Southeast Asia. Not so much in Latin America. Maybe they're just a bit jealous. Maybe they're just a bit jealous that they never got involved in South America, and they're kind of just they're
trying to push out a bit,
Aye, maybe that's
just say, you're next.
Aye. Well, I think actually my brother's going to Bolivia in this, so I'm gonna get him to take some pictures, and we're going to compare them against some screenshots of Ghost Recon.
Well, that just sounds good actually, because actually Ghost Recon, it's actually a pretty good looking game. It's I'm actually amazed at how sort of pretty some of these, like the background scenery in particular, and there's a lot of like salt flats and things like that are like you can just tan your car across if you want. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of different areas in the game, and that's part of the thing. When we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I'd only played the beta, which limited you to 2 areas in the game. There's maybe about I don't know how many, maybe 15-ish, maybe more, maybe 20. Areas in the whole game, and each area's got its own sort of feel to it. Some of them are much more mountainous, some of them are flatter, some of them are like greener than others. But it's a very good looking game, I have to say. Spoiled a lot by the audio chat of your group, because if you're playing single player, you have this like little team of guys, AI controlled guys that follow you around. If you're playing multiplayer, those guys disappear, but you still get the chatter from that like group, and they're so fucking annoying. Like, I just want them to shut up.
I was hearing that, and I couldn't work out whether it was just like you were playing a team game with some annoying like American.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that speaking
to
you?
No, it's just voice actors.
It's just like really annoying voice actors, and it's all really like serious military chat and terrible military jokes, and it's so annoying. But I can see some people just take it and be like, "Oh yeah, this is amazing." But no, not for me. Not for me. You just wish they would shut the fuck up. And it seems that there is no way of turning it off.
That's
which is really annoying.
Yeah, that would annoy me.
But the game itself, like I say, it's just a squad shooter, and it does that thing like everybody. We briefly chatted about this before this episode started. That these games, they seem to have a thing about stealth. And that if there is a stealth option in these games, it feels that a lot of these like serious gamers will go for it. They will go for the stealth option, and there is a lot to be said about like in particular instances of being really, really stealthy in this game. I mean, the game is called Ghost Recon. You're supposed to be ghosts, where you basically move in, do jobs, you're never seen, and then you leave again. Basically, that doesn't happen in the games that I play. I've been playing with a couple of mates, and they're taking this stealth thing really seriously, so they're like properly crawling about the place, taking out snipers as quietly as possible and stuff like that. But I'm like, I get a bit impatient. I'm a bit more. Well, let's take for example, there was a very small base that these guys that we were trying to take. Now I was behind them. I was about half a kilometre behind them when they went off to try and start taking this base, and they were setting up positions and they were stealthing about the place, and they're like, okay, let's come up with a plan. You go over there, blah blah blah. And I jumped on a tractor and just drove straight into the base and killed everybody by running them over and then just jumping out and opening fire, and took the base just like that. And it just feels like sometimes the stealth option is just completely unnecessary, and people will still do it.
Yeah. It depends with the game. I mean, some of them. I mean, I think I mentioned in comparison with having played Metal Gear Solid, the Phantom Pain, with the way that's kind of set up with the open world thing, and you can choose your approach to a base. You have complete freedom, really. But that game, as the Metal Gear Solid ones always have done, have kind of have rewarded you for being stealthy and things like that. So you're more there's more of an incentive to do it, but. As the game went on, I got maybe more impatient. I found that you can't just storm about the place, and like if something goes wrong, it was actually more fun to adapt to what was happening than have a set way of doing things. Other games, Far Cry 3, and presumably 4, because it had a similar setup, have similar sort of things where you just have these little outposts. And it's the same thing every time. You go up, you do your recon, you get up a high position where you've got your binoculars, you can spot all the guys, and you do. You maybe take out whoever you can snipe, then move in closer, try and take out perimeter guards and things like that. And it can get boring after a while.
But that's basically what this game is as well.
Yeah.
It's basically that exact same system. It is just the case of you come up to a base, you do your recon. In this game, you can do recon with drones, which is a much more interesting thing because you're actually flying a drone about the place and spotting guys that way. And there's a lot of upgrading and stuff. I mean, it's almost RPG-like in the way that you buy skills and shit like that. You get skill points and you get resources through doing various missions and you upgrade yourself that way. And sometimes like you can upgrade the drone to have like night vision or thermal vision, or it's more stealthy, or it's faster, and you can upgrade your own character through having more stamina so you can run more, or like there's a whole load. There's quite a lot of stuff in this actually. Okay. I've just been getting lots of explosives and annoying people, but that's just what I do. All right, if I want to cover a car in C4 and drive into a base, that's what I'm going to do, right? But yeah, like I was saying, it's very similar to that sort of Far Cry style where you're just tagging a whole load of guys and then just going, okay, right, how do I stealth this? But like you say, sometimes it is called for to just run in and start shooting everybody. Yeah. Now, I will say I'm playing this game on the highest difficulty because my mates insisted on it. And that does make things it does obviously make things a bit more difficult, but it's much on the war difficulties. You do have an idea of where people might be on the minimap before you've even tagged them. But on the higher difficulties, everybody's basically invisible until you tag them. Okay. But also, you take a lot less bullets to go down. Sometimes 1 or 2. If a sniper can headshot you, you're out, basically. So that's been a bit more interesting, and probably part of the reason why you can't really just go in all guns blazing on every single base. You can't just go in a shooting frenzy, But
consider it you're a distraction.
Yeah.
You're part of the team.
That's the thing. That's the role that I'm playing. I am the distraction role. I'm just like, I'll save you guys by running in here and opening fire.
Then it doesn't matter if you guys slip up on a shot or something like that.
That's it. Because I'm here to make up for that kind of stuff. I'm a good support character. I'm also a really annoying person to play with. If you like your stealth.
You like to play a bard.
I start stealthy and I just get to a point where I go, why are we doing this? So let's just go.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I've been playing a lot of Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Ghost Recon.
I am actually enjoying it, but I think I should probably stop playing it and get back to playing Horizon. I really do.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just neglecting Horizon.
I suppose it's an experience you can always jump into.
Indeed. So yeah, that's Ghost Recon Wildlands. That's by Ubisoft Paris, who have had a complaint against them by the Bolivian government. So let's go on to... Well, it's time for you. Right, I've talked too much. Alright. So you want to give us an update?
I'll give us a quick update on our Shenmue adventures, because we've made a bit of progress. I'm finding actually there's a lot more sort of story stuff weaved into all the mucking about that we've been doing than Shenmue 2. That's kind of... There's more locations to go to, so it's... Yeah, doing a lot of gambling though. Roll it on top is always fun.
In fact, that's pretty much all we've been doing.
Mainly gambling. I mean, you're forced to remember now and again that this is a series of martial arts games. It's essentially telling a martial arts trilogy.
It's a very story-heavy martial arts game.
Yeah.
But like life simulator.
Aye.
At the same time.
But it does kind of feel like there's, it's got elements of like 80s kind of martial art films, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, going on a journey, learning all the tenets of how to be a great martial artist and everything like that.
Definitely.
That doesn't always doesn't always quite land in Shenmue because like for everything that's happened, I don't really feel like Ryozuki's changed in any way.
Oh no, he hasn't. There is very little actual character development when it comes to Ryo himself. He's very like, he's almost like a robot. In fact, he's very robotic in the way that he does things. I don't know if this is like, I feel almost like they kind of neglected Ryo a bit and made him sort of like, you are kind of controlling Ryo, so you are Ryo, so they haven't done too much character development himself. Because the actual games, like considering their Dreamcast games and the millions of dollars it costs to make them, they're really big and there's a lot going on in these games. But it seems that Ryo himself doesn't have a lot about him.
I think even his kind of face design is probably slightly less detailed than some of the NPCs.
Except when you're drinking cans of...
then you get a real expression.
Oh yeah, you get proper Ryo expression when he has a drink.
He loves a drink.
Less so in Shenmue 2 though. It's kind of disappointing. Shenmue 1, he had excellent facial expressions when he was drinking.
Well, there's a kind of two-stage thing that happens in Shenmue, and they've cut out one of the stages in Shenmue 2 of the animation, and it doesn't... It's
so disappointing.
It's not as interesting.
He pulled the best face.
Oh, yeah. It's like, and you see that face, and you go, I've seen that. I've made that face before, probably, when I've like just really tanned a can of Iron Brew.
Just
go, whoa. It's great.
It's when that fizz comes back up on you.
You can see that. You know that he's truly appreciating his can of Mecha Cola or whatever it is.
Right, do you want to actually like describe what point we're at in
the
story
so far,
now?
I mean, at the moment we're looking for we're trying to get some more information and some more martial arts training in Hong Kong, and we're being sent by the temple master to go and find out about the 4 Wu-Dei, which is quite similar to a sequence in the first Shenmue where you're learning about the 3 blades and the history of like Chinese immigrants in Japan, and sort of you have to find these 3 different. There's the 3 professions essentially, and this is like a wee bit more in depth about your sort of how to do martial arts and the mentality. The Wu-Dei is all about the mentality. It's very philosophical, and each person you meet. So far we've done 2. We're on the 3rd one. I keep messing it up because he keeps telling me press A to not move, and I keep pressing A to not move, which you're not supposed to do.
I think somebody told you that though.
I think
sitting right. I have deliberately let you play this game.
I think you gave the game away last time we played.
No, well, I was trying to sort of like hint at it without giving it away.
Aye.
Right, but the other day there when we had people around to play board games, people started openly chatting about that one bit in Shenmue 2 because Pawel was sitting playing it. Pawel was in his happy place.
Yeah, he did have a nostalgic moment where we had Shenmue out and he was...
Before people turned up for board gaming, Pawel turned up horrendously early, as he always does. Stop that, Pawel.
We're not ready to play.
Yeah, I'm still in my bed at that time in the morning. So I stuck Shenmue 2 on for him and just said, we're playing this last night.
And he lost all the money
he lost all sense of what was going on around him. He was basically just like, he completely zoned out. Because like Pawel was an even bigger fan of the Shenmue series than I am.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he said before in this podcast that it was basically started all his interest in Japanese culture was just playing the Shenmue games.
Well, the first one is it's so, as I said before, it's so like rooted in not even a kind of fantastical version of Japan. It's so like mundane, that little little town you sit in. So it does really feel like a genuine Japan simulator.
Japan simulator, right? That should be subtitled. It should be Shenmue, Japan Simulator.
Aye. Shenmue 2, weird Hong Kong adventure.
Yeah. Japan man in Hong Kong.
Aye.
But yeah, so we're at that point where we're trying to find the 4 Wu-Dei before we can go any further.
Yeah, and you've got the old man who teaches you how to do the Tai Chi.
Yeah, the Tai Chi master.
The sort of palm punch.
The iron palm of
the iron
Tai Chi,
palm,
I think
and he
it's
gets
called.
you punching a tree for ages.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in Shenmue 2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these kind of weird...
Well, it's kind of it's the godfather of quick time events.
Oh yeah.
But it's how the game's played essentially. It's trying to do so much that you kind of have to simplify things.
But, I mean, I think like in Shenmue 2, there's a lot of these sort of weird. It's a much more philosophical game than the first Shenmue. There's a lot more of just like learning about all these Chinese, martial arts, like ways of thinking, way of life, that kind of thing. And there's a lot more of these sort of moments in Shenmue where you are just sitting doing very little. And I think a lot of that, I think that's deliberate. I think a lot of that is teaching you that like sort of like you need to be a patient person and all that kind of thing, and you need to do these things, you need to stop and like, because that whole thing with hitting the tree, the whole idea was that you were supposed to, like, Rio was supposed to take a deep breath and then, you know, concentrate all his power into his fist and then like slam the tree sort of thing without sort of putting too much force or thought into it and all that kind of thing. And they're trying to sort of simulate that with you as well. So you're sitting patiently waiting for this bar to sort of hit the right moment, and then you're just pressing the button.
I noticed they'd done a very deliberate thing with that, where it was really tricky.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a case of like, just sitting there slowly until you had the kind of rhythms of it down, because it did an odd thing where, you know, you had to hit it in a certain part of the bar, and must say about half of the time it barely even went into that section. You had to
deliberate. It's also a sign of the times when that game was made, because there were other things like that in games, and they've disappeared out of games nowadays, kind of things. But there are more moments like that in Shenmue 2 coming up, where you do have to do this whole be patient, concentrate, focus sort of thing. And like I say, I think that's a deliberate thing in this game.
I guess Shenmue 2 is the sort of the character development for Rio, because you're going through it, you feel like you're starting this sort of whole journey. It's amazing the sort of the step from the first game to the second one, in terms of there is suddenly more stuff going on. But you also kind of get a sense of his journey. I mean, you just see some Japanese teenager who's got on a sketchy ferry to Hong Kong. Just to find some guy that he's not even sure where he is. You have to admire the stones of the man. It's a
revenge story, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's an 80s martial arts revenge story in which every single person that Rio meets tells him, "Don't go looking for revenge."
Well, that's a classic revenge story thing, isn't it? I see you didn't want to go looking for revenge, but let's tell you about this revenge.
Which is, I think that's part of the reason why, like, people were really, really, really pissed off about the fact that the Shenmue series was cancelled. Thankfully, the third game is now coming out, 15 years later. When it's due out in the next couple of years, thanks to a massive Kickstarter. But, I think part of the thing was that because everybody tells Rio not to go looking for revenge, and it almost feels like Rio's starting to get the point of that, and I think a lot of Shenmue 2 is about that. Yeah. It is about just like, why are you doing this, Rio? Like, you need to think about this. And I think because none of that gets resolved in Shenmue 2, obviously, because it's obviously building up to some finale in Shenmue 3. And I think, people got annoyed about that because it's a case of, does Rio get revenge, or does Rio actually find some sort of inner peace here, or what? Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens in Shenmue 3. I don't know. I mean, I still don't know when I keep getting updates from this Kickstarter.
I've heard there are,
and I still just haven't really, just getting even a vague idea when to even expect this game. But I'm not really that fussed. I'm more thinking,
still got a ways to go in Shenmue 2.
Yeah, but more just thinking, I would rather they took their time with it and made a really good game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm guessing that probably some of the bones, at least the story, will be there. If they already had ideas for, it's just working out where they want to take it.
So the other thing that I like to say, the other thing we've been doing in Shenmue 2 is gambling a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because when we're doing this 4-day thing, you can only try that thing where you're basically that quick time event that you kept failing. You could only do it once a day in game time. But that's a good chunk. Like one day in this game is a good chunk of real time.
Oh yeah. You end up doing tons of stuff. Like,
you can't progress the story any further if you fail that, which means that we've just been wandering the streets of Hong Kong looking for stuff to do. So you went off and got a job at one of these, what were they called? The Lucky Hit stands.
Lucky Hit, yeah.
Where you're basically dropping balls down the little pin board things.
Yeah.
And you actually ended up, you were pretty good at it.
I had this,
you found your happy place.
Yeah, I sat and did it for ages, and I ended up, because we basically, the problem that we were having as well is that we had no money.
Yeah.
And we haven't paid our hotelier for quite some time.
Oh, we're never paying him.
I don't think he's ever going to get paid, no. So yeah, it was kind of a case, let's go and see what we can do. and made a bit of money on that. It was like, okay, let's just go and chuck it all and roll it on top.
The gambling dens.
Which didn't do too well. But then we went off and did the higher low.
We went to the real gambling dens.
That's what you want to be doing. If you're ever going to like a dodgy Chinese gambling den, that's what you want to be playing. It's higher low.
Aberdeen Docks. Yeah, higher low.
And it's all about, you go for your. You're gonna go.
Oh no, it's not called higher low. It's called big or small.
Is it big or small?
Big or small.
That's right.
Yes,
because that is you roll 3 dice and you can bet on either whether you're gonna have a pair.
A pair of a specific number.
Of any specific number, from 1 to 6, and you're either big or small. So I don't know what the 3 die 18. So
I think if it's above 10 or something, then it's considered big.
Right.
But if it's below
10,
that, it's
small.
considered small. It's something like that.
Fair enough.
But then we've also got chow.
You got to get chow. So that's basically a straight.
Yeah.
So
1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6. Aye.
4, 5, 6 seems to
five.
be the one that keeps coming up.
Well, 4, 5, 6 is when you got your winner.
Yeah, because I was basically like, right, we're almost bedtime. We've got $50 here. We're not intending on paying the guy at the hotel, so let's just chuck 50 on chow. Yeah. Came up straight away, $400. Woo!
That was a good moment because when we did that, we were drunk.
Oh, we were
in real life. we were really drunk when we started.
It was a euphoric moment. It was like
we got back from the pub and just went, let's play Shenmue 2 for a bit and gamble.
Get the shit. That's all you can do.
Right, I don't recommend this, kids. Like, don't get drunk and gamble all your money. But we put all our money on chow and it came up.
Aye, that's you live for these moments. You live for that 1%, not the 1%, but your own personal 1%.
Yep. So now we've got a fair chunk of money in Shenmue 2, so we can finally buy some maps and find our way around Hong Kong.
Well, that was the other problem we were having. We up to the point we were doing quite a lot of story stuff, and they kept saying, "Oh, go to this quarter because you're in the." I forget because you start off in Aberdeen, which is the docks.
Yeah.
And then you go up and there's Kings Road.
You go to Wan Chai.
Yeah, Wan Chai. Is Wan Chai where all the different
where all
areas,
the quarters are.
So you've got all these different. So you start from the Green Market quarter, and then there's the Gold quarter, South Carmine quarter. They're all various places, all with their own little character, and you get sent around those, and you have to pick up maps in the previous in the entrance before you go into the area. So we just hadn't bothered, and we were running around, and it's quite a big chunk of places to go around, and we were all over the place trying to find anything, and you had no map. And you can still bring up the map, and you'll just be on this blank spot and it'll have the bit of the docks which we bothered to pick up a map for, and that was it.
Yeah, well, we're getting lost in Hong Kong.
That did slow us down a bit, but
Shenmue 2, Lost in Hong Kong.
Aye. Oh, nice.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's Hong Kong Adventure.
Yeah, Hong Kong Adventure. Japan Man, Lost in Hong Kong.
Japan Man, Lost in Hong Kong. That's what the knockoff version you can get in the Hong Kong market's called.
Yeah. Right, so that's our Shenmue 2 update. Yep. Basically, we've been failing at the Woody and gambling all our money.
Yeah, basically.
So that's that Shenmue 2 update. There we go.
So I don't know not sure about Rio and his martial arts journey. At the moment, he's maybe not living up to his promise. Right, let's... that's Shenmue 2, which came out on the Dreamcast. Of course,
the Dreamcast. I think Shenmue 2 was also on the Xbox a couple of years later, but 2001, the Dreamcast.
They dropped it on the Xbox?
They dropped it on the Xbox.
They dropped it on the Xbox?
Yeah, they dropped it on the Xbox.
Nice one. Just Shenmue 2?
Yeah, I think... I'm not sure if the first Shenmue came out on the Xbox. I might be wrong, but I'll just quickly look that one up.
Oh. On-site research.
Nope. For some weird reason, they didn't drop Shenmue on the Xbox, but they did drop Shenmue 2.
I suppose there's like a whole... Maybe it was just like, again, almost like the pre-sort of crowdfunding thing, just like a massive campaign to get it on that maybe just kind of died on its arse. It's like, oh, well, we've managed to port Shenmue 2. I bet it's like really badly ported as well. Okay, so that's Dreamcast. That's Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast by Sega AM2. And we're still playing it on the original Dreamcast. Before anybody asks, we have not downloaded pirate copies, alright? No. I have an original Dreamcast. It's fucking indestructible. You can drop it off a table while playing the game, and we did. And it won't skip a beat.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to move on. We're going to talk about something that, again, we've already talked about in a previous episode, but it was about a year ago.
It was one of our earliest episodes, I think, was it not?
I think it was an early-ish episode. I don't think it was one of the earliest, but it was an early-ish episode. But yeah, this is RimWorld, which is the strange, like, construction management simulation survival frontier style Dwarf Fortress, basically.
Yeah,
this is Dwarf Fortress in a sort of and without all the ASCII characters, but it's got a sort of like a sort of frontier style thing going on. There's like an almost cowboyish sort of theme to this. Now, the idea of RimWorld is that they've actually changed it. Okay, so it used to be, when I first started playing it, that you were 3 survivors who'd crash landed on a planet. And now you actually get a choice, so you can keep that, or you can play as 5 tribespeople who start with basically no technology, which is an interesting concept, and I'm going to try that at some point. Okay. And I think the other option is to start as just one lone single survivor. And I'm not entirely sure about that one. I didn't actually look into that, but I just kind of went, nah. I don't think that's a great idea. But basically, this is like, if you know what Dwarf Fortress is, then you'll get an idea of what RimWorld is. But basically, it's a top-down thing where you're indirectly controlling like a group of people. Now, I went back. I started playing a new game of this, and they've updated it massively since I last played it. They've changed a few things about it, but the idea is still the same. So, I've started with the 3 people crash landed. So you have some technology. Now, the thing about RimWorld is it's more about the story that you tell with RimWorld, and it's always like been an interesting thing. So I remember the last game I played, there was a massive raid on my colony that had like 6 or 7 people in it, and everybody died with the exception of one person, who was it was a woman that had like lost one of her legs or something like that, or she was crippled in some way, and somehow she managed to survive on her own for about 2 years. And what I did this time is I started the game with the 3 people, but we started building up our base and everything, and some of the things that have changed in it, like they've introduced animals into the game since I last played it. Now, I think they had just introduced them when I last played the game, but there wasn't much in it, and I hadn't actually done anything with them. But this time round, I've really gone for it. You start the game with a husky, which is nice. So I started the game with a husky dog, which is great, and you can have people training these dogs, and the dog actually formed a bond with one of the characters, which was really cool. So that like dog makes the dog happy that it's got a master, and the master's happy because it's got a pet. So it's got like positive effect, these animals. But you can train your dog up. Well, not just your dog, but a lot of the animals can be trained basically, depending on their intelligence.
Right.
So you can train like boars and stuff like that to go and haul things around the place for you. They just kind of do these things at random. It's like you can't actually, like I say, you don't control people directly in this game. It's all very indirect. You give orders, and then people will go and do things depending on whether they can do that thing and whether you've set a priority for them to do that thing. It sounds really confusing, but actually when you see it on a screen, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So basically, like if you say, I want to mine out this area, anybody with a mining skill that you've said you're a miner, basically, will go and do that at some point. Okay? But you can set priorities for things. So you might have somebody that, say, like, is good at mining, but also really, really good at growing things. So you'll say, okay, you prioritise farming. But if there's a mining job to do and there's no farming to do, you'll go and do some mining instead. Right. It's that kind of thing. But yeah, the story so far with my sort of colony is that I started the game with 3 people, and I've got a couple of extra people since then who have crash landed on the planet themselves. Now, unfortunately, one of those people is a pyromaniac. Right? Now, I didn't realise that when I took this person and introduced them into the colony and said, okay, you can live here now. This person now starts running about setting fires at random whenever they just have a sort of crazy moment. Right. So they're setting fire to the walls, they set fire and burn down their own bed, right?
That's how pyromaniacs get started, I suppose.
They've been setting fire at the trees, they set fire to my boar farm, which I was really pissed off about, because that was made entirely out of wood.
Yeah.
And the boars were not happy.
No, I can't imagine they would be. So is this more when they're under stress? This will be the kind of negative.
Well, there's a lot of psychological stuff in this game.
Yeah.
So these people that you're controlling, like, they will have like minor. Yeah, they'll get depressed, and if they get too depressed, they'll have a minor break, which means that they might just stop doing what they're doing. If they have a major break, they might start attacking other colonists.
Right.
And if they're armed with weapons, they will use them. Now, one of your friends has played RimWorld, and the first time he played it, he said it was just a massive failure because one of these characters had a major break and killed everybody else in the colony. Now, I started the game with two people who were brothers.
Yeah.
Now, one of those people, a guy called Otto, was basically a grunt. He would do a little bit of everything, and he was really, really hard working. He actually had a bit of sort of neuroticism about him, where he would basically just like work really, really, really fucking hard all the time, but he would exhaust himself doing it because he was worried that other people would talk about if he wasn't working. Because this game goes into that level of depth with these people.
Yeah, that's really, really deep.
And it's really interesting.
Yeah.
His brother, somebody called, what's his name again? I wrote it down somewhere. Franklin.
Right.
His brother's actually gay.
Okay.
Now, his brother has got an obsession with another one of the characters I started the game with, a guy who's nicknamed Big Red.
Big Red.
Now, Big Red's cool as fuck.
Aye.
Right, but Franklin keeps coming on to Big Red, and Big Red just keeps saying, no, look, I'm not gay.
I'm Big Red. I realise that I'm a bear and I'm a bit of a catch in the gay community.
Yeah. Basically. Now that makes Franklin really depressed all the time. So I've got to make sure that Franklin is like happy. One of the problems I've got is that Franklin is also he doesn't drink. Now, giving people beer in this game is good because it makes them happy.
Right, okay.
Now, because Franklin doesn't drink, there's not very much I can do to offset his mood, other than like make sure his bedroom's nice,
Right.
keep his bedroom tidy, that kind of thing.
So now he's sort of like getting a bit neurotic himself.
So he's been getting. But what happened is that like I'm getting like I had an emotional moment, and I think I get too emotionally attached to my characters. I do.
Yeah.
I get too emotionally attached. So I've seen games of RimWorld where people have colonies with like 20 people in them, and everybody's got a job and everything like that. I've still just got like 5 people, and the idea of having more than that just makes me feel like nervous because I'd have to like build bigger place for them to live and stuff like that, and then like make sure that the farms are all operating efficiently so that everybody's got food and blah blah blah. And I feel like that like sort of 5 or 6 people is kind of my limit at the moment because I'm kind of struggling to keep on top of that.
Yeah.
And what happened was that Franklin's brother Otto got killed, died of the plague actually.
Oh shit.
And there was nothing I could do about it. Like, so if you get like a gunshot wound or somebody, or you get attacked by an animal or stuff, you get taken to a medical bed, and anybody that's set to be a doctor in this game will tend to your wounds, and you know there are skills in this game, so there are better doctors who will do better at these kind of things. Now, unfortunately, Otto just died of the plague, and there was nothing we could do. We tried to look after Otto. Nah, Otto died. Now, because Franklin is Otto's brother, and you know he's the gay one who's just and always slightly depressed because Big Red keeps saying no. He got really, really, really depressed because his brother died. Right, to the point where I thought he was just going to have a major nervous breakdown and start attacking people. Now, I got kind of like, so you get kind of emotional about this because it's just like, you can almost see in Franklin when he's walking about the place that he's just like, oh God, what is going on? This place is horrible. My brother's dead. You know, it's like I'm the only gay in the village. Like, you know, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what happened was that I made Franklin build a sarcophagus, which so he's built his brother's sarcophagus for him, and he did a really good job of it. So he made a really, really excellent sarcophagus. When you craft things in this game, they get graded, and the better they are, the happier it makes people when they look at them because they look better.
Yeah.
People are affected by their surroundings, by how their surroundings look in this game.
Did Franklin have a high crafting ability?
He had a pretty good crafting ability, so I made Franklin build a sarcophagus. I made him take Otto's body to the sarcophagus and put him in it. It made Franklin happy.
Huh?
So Franklin's now happy that we
You're
Otto. We paid good tribute to Otto.
Aye.
Now, one of the things they've added since I last played this game is that there is now art like things do have an art thing, right? Now it's just a description. Okay. Now I'm gonna I meant to open this up earlier. I'm just gonna open up a picture quickly of the description for Otto's sarcophagus. Now, the art title for this is Indebted Destruction, so this is just obviously a random name. Now, it says, the sarcophagus bears a depiction of Otto realising he truly loves a wild boar while looking into the wild boar's eyes. Now, Otto had a wild boar as a pet.
Right.
The wild boar is snuggling up against Otto. The scene takes place in the middle of a town while the style is hyper-realistic with fauvist elements. This image relates to Otto's bonding with a wild boar on the 9th of winter 5501. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that they've gone into that level of detail with this game, where like they've actually taken, and it's happened when I've got people to make like sculptures and stuff like that, they make sculptures of things they've seen in the game, not just random stuff like it used to be before. And I think that's such a fucking cool aspect of this game. I think they did stuff like this with Dwarf Fortress as well. But like when I didn't even know they'd done this, and it was only just by chance I happened to notice, oh wait, there's a little art thing there, and I clicked it and it opened these descriptions up, and I was just like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So Otto's now laid to rest in a sarcophagus depicting a picture of him with his pet wild boar. And it's, and you get totes emotion when you see these things. You get a little welling up.
Oh, that's quality. No, if you become attached to these, I could see that as well working really well with, I mean, I know you've had a go at it yet, but the 5 tribes?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, because is the idea with that meant to be, rather than you having been crash landed on this planet, you are
part of this planet.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because like that again, you've got like the art and culture thing. If they are in some way developing and stuff like that, and then it's natural you make art based on what you know, your experience. That could be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, I fucking love this game, and you lose time playing this game. This is one of those games that you turn on, and then 4 hours later, you're like, oh, fuck. Like, I should have been in bed 2 hours ago. It's one of those games. They've added, like, a whole bunch of other stuff to it as well. Like, the research is much more tree-like rather than just you pick what you want to research. Right. It's much more, like, this leads onto that. And they've added in caravans, so you can actually... I've not tried this yet, but I think you can actually travel to other parts of the world and go and visit other tribes and stuff like that and try and sell things to them.
All right.
I don't know exactly how that works, but they have added that in. Oh, by the way, I also have a pet bear. I didn't think I was going to be able to tame the bear. I thought it was just going to attack me, and then it turns out, I tamed this bear. It's not just wandering about in my base. I'm quite happy.
Because you just saw it and thought, well, let's give it a go.
Let's try it. But I mean, if you're going to have a pet in a strange world where people might randomly attack you and stuff,
might want a bear.
You probably want a bear.
Have you found some of these pets have been quite useful against attacks?
The husky definitely gets stuck in. I've not seen the bear get stuck in yet, but I don't think I've been attacked since I got the bear. So, but the husky, definitely gets stuck in when people attack his master.
Quality. Maybe need someone to bond with the bear then.
Yes. Now I found another thing. Because this game's based on Dwarf Fortress, I found a Let's Play archive. It's a page called the Let's Play Archive, actually. Now, if you're interested in these kind of games, look up a game on that it's a Dwarf Fortress Let's Play, where basically people took control of the Dwarf Fortress for a year each and passed the save game around to them. Alright, on an internet forum, and all wrote what happened and took screenshots and stuff like that, and it's really descriptive, and it's almost like they role played I'm the overseer this year sort of thing. It's called Boat Murdered, right? Look it up, it is fucking hilarious. It's so funny. It just basically depicts this dwarf fortress being attacked over and over again by elephants. It's excellent. It's fucking excellent, right? Go and look that up if you're interested in these kind of games, because it is a funny thing.
Is that a YouTube channel?
No, it's not. It's just an actual archive of written text.
It's all text.
With screenshots and stuff like that, and it's really, really good.
Okay.
But that was RimWorld, which is by Ludion Studios, and that is on Linux, Mac OS X, and Windows. You can get it on Steam, and it's still in early access, so there's probably more to come from RimWorld.
Excellent.
Right, we need to wrap this episode up. It's actually ended up being just as long as any other episode,
there
which is
we go.
surprising. So there we go. So we'll give out our internet. So our email address is firstplayertoken@gmail.com. I almost gave out my own email address there.
Did you? That's a bit weird. Have you been sending a lot of emails recently?
Right, firstplayertoken@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. They are all first player token or the large and unnecessary first player token, the exception being Twitter, which is at 1st player token.
Once player token, if you have difficulty remembering that.
Thank you, Euan. We have a Discord. Ask us for the link for that. We have a website, which is www.firstplayertoken.com. I still have to do work on that. My Twitch username is Unnecessary Chris if you want to watch me playing some video games. And we are part of the Podnose Network,
The UK's leading entertainment podcast network. I wasn't even sure if I'd said that right there, and then I repeated myself. Happens all too often. Yes, a rapidly expanding series of podcasts on there, and we are proud to be part of the family. So
we sure are.
Check them out on podnose.com.
Thank you, Euan. One last thing before we go. If you go to your YouTube channel, I have uploaded we played Game of Thrones, a board game. We also played a couple of other things, including Discworld, and we played XCOM.
Oh yeah,
the board game.
It's been a while since we played that.
Yeah,
and
we kind of you can tell. So like, that's not the greatest video in the world, I'll be honest. But the Game of Thrones one is actually that's pretty good. Even if I do say so myself.
It was a good game.
Lots of arguments. It was
a
really good game of that board game. Yeah,
but not to give too much away, but I definitely enjoyed that a lot more than did the first time we played it.
Yeah, I think I did as well. I think that was the most enjoyable game of that I've played, and we had a surprising winner as well.
Yes,
in terms of the house that won.
You'll hear all about that next week.
Go to your YouTube thing. The video is only 5 hours long, so go and have a watch of that. It's on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So we will be back next week with episode 44, which is a board games thing, and we'll probably talk about the games that we just mentioned.
I expect Game of Thrones,
and at least 2 of them, I think.
Yeah. Well, seeing as Pavel actually played it with us this time.
Pavel actually did play a board game with us this time.
So we'll all 3 be able to share an experience for you on the podcast.
So thanks for listening. We will see you next week.
Cheers.
Bye.